guys, and welcome back to my channel. And this week I want to talk about something that I've personally been going through and navigating, and something that I know a lot of us do because of everything that pops up with Turner syndrome. So the first aspect of this I want to talk about is kind of my own experience, and then kind of what I'm learning and just in general what this experience is like and what you might be going. So first of all, we're going to talk about, I want to talk about choice and habits and making choices, change things or improve things for your health. Like the specific reason you're doing it is to take better care of yourself, to better your health and improve your health, and just make it possible for you to be healthier. For me, habits are hard. Habits are really hard. I am not good at creating new ones. It takes me a lot of tries to create new ones. I also am somebody that can get so caught up in it not being perfect that I paralyze myself. Either that or I get indecisive and paralyze myself. I'm good at both of those things. And I lately have been kind of processing and thinking through some changes I want to make to my routines, to how I approach things, just choices in general and habits that I know will lead to me being healthier, that I know will lead to me taking better care of myself, and making these changes would be a massive step in the right direction for taking better care of myself like I want to. And I also kind of want to add to this that just because it's difficult and not a struggle, or just because it's difficult and a struggle and it doesn't happen instantly, does not mean you don't want to make those changes. Humans are creatures of habit. We really, really are. So changing habits is work. It is not something that happens easily. And so if it doesn't happen overnight when you're trying to, that does not mean that your heart isn't actually in it, or that you don't want to, or that you're not giving it everything you can. Changing habits takes work. It's a lot of work, and it's not an easy thing. So I personally have just been kind of running into things like my sleep pattern that I'm always up and down with, like supplements, like my food choices, like physical activity, like my stress levels. I could list a whole bunch of things that I feel like I could do a lot to improve in how I take care of myself in those ways. Like, I could be more intentional with how I spend my time in regards to my stress levels and sleep. I could absolutely make more work to be more disciplined and intentional in those areas, and probably see a huge improvement in health things that happen. And so I've been processing through all of that what making those changes to improve my health looks like. I've also fought with my weight a lot and kind of not yo-yoed a ton, but I've kind of always been battling it. And so that's something that I have a lot of experience where I'll give it a really good effort and then I get off track. And I have a habit, talking about habits, of starting an attempt and not finishing it. As soon as I see some improvements, as soon as I see a level of success that I've had with it, I get a little more lax. I get a little lazier, if I'm honest. I let my guard down, really. And so I keep having these false starts almost, where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make all of these changes so I can improve these things because I know I'll feel better. Well, one, trying to make a whole lot of changes at once is always my go-to and always a really bad idea. So I've done a lot of work to kind of hone myself in and be like, no, have more of a focus than that. You can do it. And so I'll hone in on like the things health-wise that I feel like would make the biggest difference and little ways of improving it instead of like massive goals in those areas. Like, okay, well, I will try to at least get this much sleep, or I'll try to get up 10 or 15 minutes earlier to have some quiet, peaceful time before the day starts, because, you know, as soon as I get to work or we're starting the day, it's go, 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 you know. I'll do all of this prep ahead so I'm not behind. Like, so many things to improve my stress, to improve my sleep, all of those things. And I also can get so focused on the plan that I can catch myself up from even starting. So those are things I've been battling recently. There are some things that I've noticed that I've gotten a little lazier with as far as taking care of myself. And I'm feeling it. Like, my stress and sleep levels, very, very pointedly, I have not been as on top of doing things to keep up on that, to maintain that self-care in those ways. And I got sick. Because for me, you know, coming into a situation with Turner syndrome, your immune system is already not what it could be. Mine in particular, that's definitely a part of Turner syndrome I have, is my immune system kind of sucks. And so when I haven't slept, when I've been stressed, and I'm stressing myself out and not like doing self-care to decompress, I get sick. My immune system then takes an even bigger shot from the lack of sleep and stress, and I get sick. Absolutely. And so that's kind of what's kickstarted in me recently. Like, I really want to figure this out. It's not an easy thing, and it's a process, but it just is something I notice every time, and it's something I know, but like having habits in place to be ahead of it instead of letting it all hit me or letting it catch up with me is not something I've accomplished fully. So for me, that becomes the biggest concern, right? I don't want to not feel good all the time. I don't want to be getting sick all the time. I don't want to be feeling stressed and sleep deprived and that lead to getting sick. And so I crash for a day because I don't feel good. I don't want to deal with that anymore. Like, I don't want that to be a common occurrence here. And so for me right now, that's my motivation to try to work on these things, is that I don't want that to be common anymore. Like, I don't want that to keep happening. And so this kind of led me to thinking about our approach to making changes for our health in general. There's a lot of things with Turner syndrome that we go through with health things, like a lot of things we have to consider for taking our care of ourselves, there's a lot of things we have to consider for taking care of ourselves with our health. And like, we see real consequences, like I just shared my experience of, when we don't, you know, like, sure, everybody needs self-care, everybody needs to take care of themselves, but in our specific experience, we have a lot of ways we see very quick ramifications when we don't take our HRT, when we don't check on things, when we don't make the choices with food or supplements or things that we know we need, that our body needs that extra support, that our body needs that extra help. And it's really important for us. Like, it's a proactive thing to something that is a little bit more of a concern for us than others. So it's something that I started thinking about our motivation with. You know, all of us go through that process. We all have to make the best choices we can for our health that we possibly can. And we all have a motivation of our health, very real in front of us, our health to consider for our motivation. And what does that look like? What does that look like when you instead of approaching it as, I have to do this. I know I have to. And putting that pressure on yourself versus, I'm taking care of myself. And it's to be healthy. There's a very real, tangible reason. That's a really strong why. Now you can get to a more focused piece under that. Like for me, not wanting to be getting colds all the time or not feel good, having that as my why is even more specific. But for us, there's so many examples I can think of already just in that sentence that it's a pretty good why even in of itself. And so we have a real and very pointed, I feel like, motivation for not letting those things slide, for being intentional in how and making the time to take care of ourselves. There's a whole long list of things that we could say we could do, but I think particularly when you're looking at your why, if you are looking at, okay, these are the things I'm feeling, like these are the things I feel like I need, these are the improvements I feel like I need, this is what I'm fighting and struggling with right now. There are going to be 2 or 3 solid things that you're like, I could do this, this, or this right now and immediately start feeling better. And like, I know what I'm avoiding. I know the feeling I'm avoiding by taking care of myself in that way. And so I want to approach it like that. I want to have that mindset, where I'm that focused, where I'm connecting those dots for myself, and I'm really setting myself up for success in that way and making my reasoning clear, and also not demeaning myself in the process, not putting myself down and being like, oh, you failed, you didn't do it, because that's not helpful. That's not constructive. That's just going to either stall you or backtrack you further. And it's also not productive, right? Like, it doesn't accomplish anything except then you just feel worse. And so I wanted to share this because I mean, not only is it something that I'm going through, but I feel like it's something that's really common for all of us to be processing, like, these aren't easy things to keep on top of, and I have to make the right choices. And sometimes it can also feel overwhelming and stressful because you're like, I have to always make the right choice or I'm gonna feel awful. And I don't know that you have to take it to either extreme, but so I wanted just to share what I've learned and what I'm learning, what I'm processing and working on, and hopefully it's an encouragement, but also a practical tip for you for maybe your own process with this, because sometimes we have to do the not fun things to take better care of ourselves. And I think whatever we can do to still make it enjoyable, like find our own good, fun version of whatever it is that we like, that doesn't feel like settling, that doesn't feel like punishment, that doesn't feel like a chore or a job. I think any of that we can accomplish is great. So I just really liked that mindset change I was starting to process, and like, oh, that makes you see it in a different light. For me, I also am one that, like, I'll reprocess these things a lot, but I wanted to share. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it was an encouragement. Certainly, if you are going through the same thing, you are not alone in any way. And if you guys have any tips, like anything in that regard that you've learned, I would love to see it in the comments below. And if you like Talking Turner Syndrome, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and make sure you're subscribed to see when the next video comes out. I'll see you guys in that one. Bye.